Hey, I just want to let y'all know, I do the double grind. I got cleats and I got hooping shoes. Can you respect my hustle?
I always wondered like what he loved the most. Football. I mean, basketball was his thing, but he loved both sports. We might have a different take on that, which one he loved the most, but he was so good in both. You know, I really don't know.
My son played football. He was one of those kids, man, that he loved basketball though. I think he played football for me. My name is William Wells, and I'm from Paris, Kentucky. This is 48 Sports Zone, and I'm coming to you live tonight so we can discuss some of the topics from high school basketball from last week. I was born in 1972. So, you know, I remember my grandmother raised me. I'm biracial. Father's African American, my mother's white. So, you know, my mom had me when she was young. She was like 17 years old. So, you know, back in the days, man, the grandmothers, you know, took control of everything. So, you know, I had moved in with my grandmother. My grandmother pretty much raised me. And, you know, there wasn't a lot of people looking like me walking around with a white grandmother. So, you know, in some ways, man, I used to get looks. And then, you know, in some ways, some people thought it was pretty cool. So I never really ran into any problems, you know, growing up, because one of the things that I loved doing was playing sports. So, you know, when you live in a small community, when you're playing sports, it seems like people don't see color. So, you know, that was one of the things that got me through my adolescent time here at Paris, because I was a good athlete. Man, I love football, man. Football was my passion going through high school. Ran track, you know, and played basketball as well. But it got to the point when I was in high school that, you know, I didn't want to put in the time as much in basketball. I was more of a football and a track guy. So those are the sports that I gravitated towards. I love running, man. Running was something that it seemed like you're free. You know what I mean? When you're running, I love like having a football helmet on with the ear holes, and you hear the wind. You gotta be moving though, you know what I'm saying, to hear that wind going through your ear holes, man. So those, track was, man, I ran track, you know, 3 years in high school. We never really had we had people that helped us, but you know, they had other jobs. We really didn't train like people do today. Man, I wanted to go to college, but, you know, back, once again, man, it was like college wasn't pushed on us because, you know, we didn't have anybody around us that was really going to college. You know, I had an older cousin that went to the Navy. And, you know, when he came home in a new car, and like, you know, living in Paris, man, you lucky if you got one car in your household back in the 90s. Man, he got that car, man. I'm like, I'm going to the military so I can go get me a car and have me some money.
My name is Gina Willis, and I'm from Paris, Kentucky. And I went to Paris and Bourbon. I ended up graduating from Bourbon in 1990. So, you know, had friends from Paris, going to Bourbon or whatever. So I was pretty much, was well-rounded with all groups, all sides. But, you know, just growing up in Paris, it was so different than it is today because, you know, we had neighborhoods and people, you know, the neighbor, if they saw you doing something, you know, they told your mother or father, whatever, your grandparents, you know, it wasn't nothing to be walking and, you know, somebody sitting on their porch and, you know, everybody speaking and saying hi, or you can go in and get something to drink. It was different when we came up. And I hate that kids don't get to experience the way Paris used to be. Paris is small, so everybody knows everybody anyway. We started, I think we were like 15 years old, going together, calling ourselves boyfriend and girlfriend or whatever, and went through high school going together, even though I went to Bourbon and, Paris and everything. And we just, we ended up getting married, like right out of high school. Yeah, we got married right out of high school. William went to the Navy and everything. I mean, couldn't tell us, then at the time, you think you're in love, that you're going to be with this person or whatever. But I think with me and him, you're friends. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, when you grow up with somebody, it's different. You can be friends and then, it turned into something else. And when that turning into something else, that other relationship don't work, you can still go back to being friends. And that's what me and him are. And Jacobe still didn't come till after we were divorced and not together. So, I consider him a friend, like it's weird, but I do. I know a lot of people they don't understand it. But it works for me and him.
I was in the military from 1990 to 94. My first daughter was born in 93. Now that I look back on it again, my 21-year-old self, I think I would have stayed in the military because, like I said, my cousin, he retired from the military. And then my other best friend, my other two best friends, both of them retired from the military. So the three people that I was the closest with, you know what I mean, for those 4 years, they all retired, man. I got out and I went down, a path that none of those three has ever traveled before. I'm going to put you back in the time frame of 1994. 1994, I got out of the military. There weren't jobs in Paris. All the jobs were in Georgetown. All the jobs were factory jobs. I worked for a JAG officer while I was in the military. If you were going to court martial, it's just like civilian. If you're going to court, if you're doing that, I worked along with those people. So I did a lot of the paperwork, like a court reporter pretty much. Well, when I got out in 94, at the time, my little girl's mother, she had moved to Nashville with her mom. I, packed up, me and my daughter, we rolled down to Nashville. It seemed like they were kind of behind times, man. They weren't ready for an African American working in like law offices at that time in 94 because I would send my resume. I would talk to them over the phone. Oh, we need you to come in, ex-military, this, that. But then when I would go in for the interview, I wouldn't get the job. So a couple times that happened to me, man, and I got discouraged. So she stayed down in Nashville for a little while, and I came on back home, and that was the first time right there that it's like I really didn't have any responsibilities. Like my daughter was in Nashville with her mom. I was back home. I was drawing unemployment from the military, so I was sitting back, wasn't doing anything. But I look up, man, and I had more money than the guys that was out here hustling, So, at the time, man, like all my friends hustled except one. What they say, if you lay with the dogs, you're going to get fleas. And eventually that's what happened, man. I knew better, man. I was the only person that had really even moved away. I was living on my own, man, paying rent, I was hanging with people that didn't know how to do that. The selling of drugs, man, was easy, and anytime anything's easy, man, it's hard to stop doing. Ended up going to prison in 97. Prior to 97, in 1996, my youngest daughter was born in 96. And, I ended up going to prison in 97, man. I ended up doing a total of 13 months. Got out and right back at it again. You know what I'm saying? Right back in the streets, man. I was like knee deep. I was knee deep in the streets then. When I got out, I was working at University of Kentucky, and I had a good job, man. At first I started I started in the mail room. I'm working there, and I run into someone that I had a relationship with when I was in high school. You know, who was my girlfriend in high school, and she used to look out for me. I didn't have no car, so she just let me use her car and stuff. One thing led to another, man, and then that's when I had my third child, which was my son, Jacobe.
Jacobe brought people together, though, to be honest. He really did. He was just that type of person. He was athletic from, little. He was just an athletic kid. But he always was very matter of fact. Just whatever he was thinking, and I can't say that he got that from William and not me. I think it's a mixture of both of us, because William and I both are pretty much, we're gonna let you know how we feeling. We pretty much the same. And Jacobe, he was like that as well.
Man, you beat yourself up sometimes because other people are teaching your kids how to do stuff when that's the father supposed to be doing it. Like I said, man, like having two girls and them having mothers that were great mothers, I knew they were good. They were taken care of. My son had a great mom as well, and she was married to a great guy, But sometimes, like, I can see stuff in my son that the stepfather can't see, because that's me, So being away from him, man, it was crazy, man, because he was so young. The first time I got in trouble, he didn't understand. He didn't know. So, man, when I got sentenced, man, the first thing that came to my mind was, dang, I'm gonna miss prom. I'm gonna miss this with my older kids. But I knew that I would be home by the time my son was in the 8th grade. So that's how I kind of done my time. I'm like, when I get out, Jacobe be in the 8th grade, I'm hearing he's a heck of an athlete. My daughters, they play sports. My daughter ran track. She was running almost high school times in track. She ended up kind of losing interest, man. Father wasn't there. My other daughter, she played basketball. Jacobe, man, he was, like I said, he was so young, man, that other people were teaching him, how to put his football pads in his pants, how to wear his helmet, boiling his mouthpiece for him, Those are little things, man, that bothered me, man, when I was incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? It was about me talking to my kids on the phone. I can only talk to them for 15 minutes. Me trying to get, a week's worth of stuff in 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Those were the things that bothered me, man, because I know how it bothered my children.
We had our own little relationship and stuff, and he would try to teach me slang and love when I would say it to him and his friends. I would call them my Fab Five, so it was 5 of them. And when they would come, I would start, saying stuff, and they would just love it. When they were playing ball and going to state and all that kind of stuff, so many kids was walking around with Wells 23 on the back of their shirts, and just coming to see Jacobe play. He would give the kids that time. He would actually talk to the kids. I know those kids will always remember that. It was major. It was just a major thing. So when I got diagnosed with stage 4 tonsil cancer. And Jacobe he had just started his senior year of high school. So it was football season. And, I'm going back and forth for tests and scans and all this kind of stuff. And I remember when he came in and I told him, that I had it, and he asked me, was I going to die? And I said, they said no, that my, prognosis is good. Like it's a rough treatment, but, that I'm going to be okay. And when I would go to treatment and he would come home, he would come and lay in the bed with me. I had 2 surgeries. The first surgery, it was like on my neck. And so when he came in, I was laying on the couch and trying not to, lay on my neck or whatever. So he was trying to figure a way to position himself so he could lay. And my sister actually ended up getting a picture of us laying on the couch like that. He was just very protective, missed me at a few games. And this was during football season. So it would be kind of sometimes too cold for me to be able to go or whatever. But, I didn't miss games. You know what I'm saying? I was the loudest, And I sent him a picture. I was getting fluids one day. And I sent him a picture so I could go to the game. And he posted it and said, this is what my mama's doing so she could come to my game tonight, So he just saw me as a fighter, from that. And like I said, you couldn't have told me that God didn't deliver me from all of that, because I was supposed to be here for Jacobe.
This year, my mama, she got diagnosed with lymphoma, and that's a curable cancer, but it's still cancer. So if you gotta sit and deal with the reality that your mama got cancer, that hurts you. So right before we played home, just when she told me the day before that, and I didn't know how to take it. I went upstairs, I didn't know what I was mad about. I was just the fact that I know my mom is sick. I mean, when you hear about cancer, you just think of the worst. So that's what I thought about. And I tried to go out there and do my best and just play for her, but dealing with the reality, knowing she had cancer, it's just hard to do. So I mean, I didn't know how to take it. I still think about it to this day. I mean, she's up moving and stuff, she's fine, but then again, I still know there's something wrong with her. So having to see her take all this medicine, and she's just not the same person. So when I go out, I try to play for her, and that was an eye-opener, because it made me, every moment I get with my mama, I cherish it. I'm not saying I didn't then, but the little stuff she asks me to do, I do it, because you never know, it could have been worse. I don't know what could have happened. So that's why when I go out, if you learn to play for something other than yourself, or just other than just playing to do it, then you'll tend to go harder, because you're not doing it just to be doing it. I go out, I play for y'all, I play for my mama, I play for, people that's gone, the people that doubt us, all that.
Jacobe had test anxiety. So he wasn't qualifying on the ACT. Core grades were good. All the time that I was incarcerated, there were never problem with grades. One of our football coaches, he took Jacobe on this little tour, man. He took him to University of Cincinnati, Middle Tennessee State, Tennessee Martin, Memphis, Ole Miss, a couple schools, right? Well, the number one thing they ask are you qualified? You know, man, now that I look back on it, you know, his senior year, he had the offers from football, but he wasn't qualified. And his mother just got diagnosed with cancer. And, you know, as a father, man, like at that time, like what can I do? I mean, only thing I can do is try to console you but I mean, what can I say, man? Because like I said, that's his mom. You know what I mean? We get him tutoring. He do well on the tutor. It got to the point to where there were people at the school that was helping, you know. All indications was he's going to pass this test, you know. So then the last time he took the test, man, it was, never forget it. He stayed with me because it was the weekend. He took the test up at Bourbon County. I went and picked him up from the test, you know, naturally, how you think you've done? Man, I think I've done good, you know. So that same night, we play in a tournament at Bourbon County, and they have the man who wins Mr. Basketball the next year, but he was a junior this year. He comes in, their team's ranked in the top 10 in the state. We play this game up here at Bourbon. Jacobe has 37 points. You know, last play of the game, man, we're up. I don't know, we're up double digits. One of his teammates throws it off backboard. He catches it, dunks it in. Buzzer goes off. We win the game. I mean, we was already up anyway, but they was hot dogging at the end. He has the best basketball game that he could have played because of the competition he played against. And he just got finished taking his test. So I turned and I looked at Ashley and I said, he passed that test. I said, there's no way that he played like this today and didn't pass his test.
Just could not get over that hump. And you talking about as a parent watching that, that was just hard, you know, because he was so, at this point now, he's just frustrated. Like, he's like, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to take another test, you know. And this was, at this time, this was at the end. Like, I think he could have took it one more time. And I'm like, okay, don't. He realized that he could go to K-State and play basketball with the 17. He had a 17 with the 17. So that's what he was going to do. He was going to go to K-State and play basketball. Went to K-State and, you know, of course he's there maybe like a week or so before class. And he calls me the morning of tryouts. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. He's crying, like just devastated. And I'm like, what happened? You know, he went to tryouts and he didn't have his packet for his physical. He left it in the dorm. And he said that the coach was like, no, maybe next year. That's another time, like, you know, your heart just breaks. So me being the mama bear that I am, I find out, you know, the coach's information and I email him because I'm like, I knew in that moment when he called me, I'm like, he's not going to stay at K-State. He's going to come back to Paris. You know, I knew it. I knew it.
Him not passing that test, man, really weighed on him, man. And it made him think that, you know, he wasn't smart enough. He was a dummy. You know, no athlete, no jock that is held at a high standard want to be portrayed or perceived as you're not smart enough. Kentucky State, K-State said that he could come down there and walk on, play basketball. You know, he started school in August. You know, as a dad, man, I'm proud that my son's going to college, you know. but I'm not knowing the dark side of how he's feeling about the situation. Because you got to realize, man, you know, you growing up, man, and people putting you on a pedestal, and then you having to go somewhere and you got to walk on. Like, you know, I got to walk on, you know, when if he would have passed that test, there was no walking on. You know what I mean? So, you know, he went to college, man, it didn't work out for him, man. Like, he had already done checked out. You know, we had our struggles, you know, because as a father, I've already went down this dark path, so you don't have to do that.
As his mother, I could see it. I heard it in his voice. Like he was just defeated. He was just defeated. And it tears me up even now thinking about it. You know, I struggle with, you know, me beating cancer, and because I just knew God saved me for Jacobe. Because you couldn't tell me he didn't. One day I get a call and it's saying that Jacobe's being arrested. And it was saying it was a robbery. And I was just like, what? Jacobe, like, what do you mean a robbery? I'm confused, you know. He was with a 17-year-old. And I guess it's something that they do where they say they're going to get so much of this amount of weed and show the money, but don't get it. They take both. You know, they come out with the weed and the money. So that they call it like a runoff or whatever, some robbery, you know, and he was charged with that, you know. Kevin wanted to go get him then. I'm like, no, won't let him sit. Because this is ridiculous at this point. Like, what are you doing, you know? And what's so crazy, when I realized this, I'm like, Jacobe hated when somebody took something from somebody that didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember like something happened in school or somebody stole one of the football players' money, and he was just upset, just mad. So when this stuff comes out, I'm like, what? Like, you know, you think you know somebody, and I'm like, what is going on, you know? So finding that out, just crushing, it just tore me up, because I'm like, you know, so when I finally get to talk to him, I'm like, what is going on with you? So when he went to jail, I think Jacobe, we left him in there for like 2 months, but ended up getting a lawyer. William, me, my husband, we got a lawyer and all that stuff, and was going back and forth to court, but the case got dismissed. They ended up throwing it out, so that was dismissed. So you're thinking like, you got out of this, lesson learned, you know. And I remember when he did get out of that, like, worked a little bit here and there, didn't work more than worked, you know. Caught himself, you know, going back to Paris, staying with his aunt. I'm thinking, he's finding his way. I'm going to, you know, back up and let him, you know. But Jacobe just kept going down. He could not pull himself out, you know. And he loved Paris, where at that time I hated Paris because of him, you know. Like, I hated him loving it. So I'm like, it's so much more out there. He did go with William and work doing like the meters.
Man, coach, just get it in right here. You hear me? That's what we doing. He said he'll work for free, Gina. He'll work for free.
I had a friend in Cynthiana was friends with a guy who owned this meter company. So what we were doing in Wisconsin, where we were changing the dials on your electric meter to Bluetooth, so people don't have to run in your yard and check your stuff. Now, you know, the driver can pull up in front of your house with Bluetooth, and it can read the dial on you can read your dials. So we were in an upscale part of Wisconsin doing this. It was Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So, I'm talking to him and seeing what he's doing, and I'm talking to his mama, and she's like, why don't you come and get him and bring him with you? All right. So I called him. I'm like, man, you want to come up here and make some money? I said, man, you can make as much money you want a day. It depends on how many meters that you change. So, man, I convinced him to come with me, So you got to realize, man, it was like 5 or 6 of us from here, from Paris. We stayed in an Airbnb. I had a room, had bunk bed in there. Me and him stayed in the room together. You know what I mean? So we worked. I knew the job was going to be kind of hard for him because he ain't never did this before. So I'm like, look, you can ride with me every day. We work together, and whatever we make, we just going to split it. So he's like, cool. So, man, we worked together every day. It was, I think I got him down there with me. I went there in May. I got him there with me in July. So, man, from July, August, September, those 3 months, man, we spent more time together in those 3 months than we had spent together in, at that time, he was 20 years old. So, we're working, we're getting money. You know what I'm saying? He's getting money. He's having a little anxiety because he misses friends back home. I think he came home a couple times. So, man, we're working. So our destination changed. So now we had to go to Kenosha. Well, if you remember, that's where they had the shooting. They had a shooting in Kenosha where the kid got shot reaching into his vehicle, right? That was the place that we were supposed to move to. So I went to the owner, man, of the business, and I said, look, man, all the racial tension that's going on in Kenosha, I'm not taking my son to Kenosha. We're not going to do that. They had police up and down the street all the time. You know what I mean? Because there was rioting and everything over there. So, man, we come home. So I leave Wisconsin, taking my son away from the police shootings and the violence that's going on in a town. And then we come home, and that was September. He turned 21 in September. October, November, December. He gets killed December 21st.
Paris are stunned and devastated over the shooting death of a former star athlete at Paris Independent High School. The Bourbon County coroner says 21-year-old Jacobe Wells died after being shot yesterday. It happened in the area of William Street around 6 in the evening. Police have not released information.
And even, court, going through all that process and having to listen to the things that they say, and I when I read my letter, victims impact statement, I turned to him and I told him, like, I never would want somebody to feel how I feel. As a mother, you don't, I would never want their parents to feel how I feel every day. Even though my Christmases are not the same, birthdays, his birthday, I'm at the cemetery, or I'm doing, planning the fun day out to the park, or, but yeah, Christmas. And this year, I think, was the first year that I went to my mom's. I usually stayed home. This year was the first year that I went to my mom's for Christmas. Mother's Day. Those are hard days.
You don't want your child to fall victim to those streets, man. And man, he was killed on the street, man. That me and him lived on. I sold drugs on the street the whole time. Nothing ever happened to me, man, you know. And then, you know, to have your child, man, you know, shot and killed, man. It changed my life to the point to where, you know, I distance myself from friends and family. I went through a period of time to where every time my girls would call me, I'm listening to see if I hear anything in the background. Okay, you know, to coming out here into my shed out here and just spending multiple days reminiscing, you know, crying, laughing, you know, all types of different emotions, man. And you know, one of the things that came out of this was that I had a bigger purpose in my community.
Tyquan Rice, head football coach here at Paris High School. You know, year one, man, I tell you, I don't know how many people could have made it through, you know, year one. Year one was tough. You know, I had an administration that didn't really want to see me be successful. Prior, you know, to the principal that I have now, he was probably my biggest motivation. Just because I wasn't his choice. I wasn't the guy that he felt should be in this position. And so I really wanted to work hard and prove, you know, to him and some of the people through the community that didn't think, you know, my staff and myself needed to be here. And so year one was tough. You know, you had parents who, well, they don't know what they're doing. And they're still a little iffy about us. And then you had players that were still a little iffy because instead of buying in, you know, they hear things. And when they hear things, it makes them harder. It makes it harder to trust. And so, you know, you got to really peel back those layers. And then we were able to work. And so when you think about year three and success is coming along, winning makes everything easy. You know what I'm saying? You start winning and it makes it easy for everybody but me. And so, you know, parents have bought in and, you know, to go from year one to year three and see parents tailgating, to be able to call a parent up and say, hey, so-and-so's really slacking off on their grades, to being able to pull them in to a meeting in my office and we can just genuinely have a conversation, you know, it's coming along. And that is the trend that we want to continue on. There were a lot of people, you know, within the community that said, no, you know, we need somebody here. We need somebody that knows the community, but knows the kids in the community. I knew that, you know, football is a tool to reach these young men because that's how I was reached. I was a lot like them, and, you know, coaches were able to reach me through football. That's why I was passionate about, you know, being that coach.
There's a dark cloud over our town right now. And if we need anybody coaching our kids and being behind our kids, it has to be one of our own. You can't bring somebody in from somewhere else because our town is mourning right now. We are, you know, we're, like I said, 4 months removed from my son being killed. You know, we need somebody that the whole town's going to rally around. And I said, guess what? If he fails, we going to all fail together. But you can't bring somebody that you want to handpick from somewhere else to come in here and coach these kids because he's not going to get the support right now. And I said, man, I'm not threatening you. I'm just telling you the truth, man. Like, we need our own here coaching because we're all going to help him. So, you know, he gets the interview. And he gets the job.
I think when you're a football player, especially at a school with a successful program, you know, there's always a bullseye, you know, whether it's good or bad. You got to carry yourself a certain way. At least I and the other coaches in the building, you know, principals, we expect them to really be leaders because they have that bullseye. I want people to follow you. For me, I I want to make sure the kids miss some of those mistakes that we made. I want them to be able to, fall on the good side of the fence and not on the wrong side. And so, to me, that is that's the biggest struggle with any small town. You're gonna get problems, and I've got kids that come 12 miles down the road. 12 miles separates Lexington and Paris, and I had a parent tell me one time that she felt like there was a dome over Paris that kept her kids safe from Lexington. And I thought about it and I said, yeah, I understand that. But there's also something about Paris that keeps our kids here, that keeps our kids, kind of cemented into, different challenges. And when I say that, it's after high school, how are we setting them up for success? What do we have here in Paris? I've got 14, 15, of the same restaurants. I've got 10 or 11 self-storage buildings. I've got a car dealership that, is one of the biggest on the East Coast. What do we have for the kids?
Terry Dumphord, anti-violence advocate and founder of the Voyage Movement, thinks signs of unity can help.
What we do know is we have a problem with gun violence.
Oh, Lord. And Terry Lee, this is coach. So let's get these out to people.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, did you take Miss Tessie something to eat?
Where's she at?
Right there on my street, on Hard Drive.
Y'all hungry? We had manwich today.
Oh, cool, baby.
You know what I'm saying? If y'all hungry, man, feel free, don't be shy. My name is Terry Dumphord. I'm the founder of the Voyage Movement. It's an acronym. It stands for Voices of Youth, Administering Global Education. And right now you are inside of the Voyage Movement Multi-Purpose Center. This space is really near and dear not only to my heart, but the community's heart, right? This used to be a neighborhood grocery store called Oliver's Grocery, ran by a beautiful brother named Eddie B, right? Well, we called him Eddie B. So for years, we used to come up here when I was younger, man. I used to come to the store, man, and my mom would send me up here with everything from cash to food stamps to get, things for the house. So to be able to come back and own this space and repurpose it, man, it's everything to not only myself but to the community. Because after Mr. Oliver died, it was a period of time where this spot, this corner, had a bad stigma. I was one of these individuals who actually was part of the problem, though. Like on this very corner where we at, I actually caught attempted murder charge coming out of this store, man. Like, so my story and my connection to this space, man, is very, very, it's deeply rooted. I used to stand out here on these corners my whole childhood, man, and sell drugs, carry guns. We used to just do things that, and I wouldn't even say survival because this is not a bad neighborhood, man. When I was growing up, it was predominantly black. Now it's a mixed culture, which is great. But when I bought it, I wanted to purposely make sure that I held strong to the core values of what this neighborhood represents. That being said, man, in 2016, I got out of federal prison, and the whole time I was in there, man, I was making these changes, right? I wanted to be better, and I knew I couldn't get out with the same mentality. So the Voyage Movement was really birthed inside federal prison, man. I used to have them young guys, man. I used to be a GED tutor. So everybody who was one of the guys that I mentored or I tutored, I would do things like, we got rules like you can't cuss. So they would lock it in. If I catch them on the yard, I don't care if it's 40 guys from Chicago over here, man. This young guy's over with his game. If I caught him cussing, he respected what I did enough to where he would give me push-ups in front of all of them dudes, man. That's how I knew that, like, okay, you really having an impact. Because these guys are gangsters and they don't really respect nothing. So the fact that they would respect the rule that you implement, it shows that your change is affecting other people.
This school means a lot to me because this is where my memories are. So I need my memories to be with somebody that we all gonna support. man, he got that job, man. And when he got that job, bro, I felt obligated. I'm like, okay, now I gotta help him. I can't just get out here on the rooftops and holler and say, man, let's get him as the coach, and me not put in no sweat equity. You know, I started coaching, you know, the youth football. Me and my partner, Coach Tyrell Howard, you know, he asked me to come on and help him coach the Little Hounds football team. Because my thing is, sometimes, man, you know, when we get our kids, when they're seniors or they're in high school and they've been indulging in extracurricular activities, they're kind of too far gone at that particular time. You know what I mean? To stop it. So my method was, okay, man, let's plant this seed with these kids early. How important it is to practice, how important it is for school, how important it is to listen to your parents, how important it is to be punctual, to be here on time, you know, how to be a teammate. I said, man, I want to do it from the I want to go to the root.
You know, I have a problem with, you know, guys that they have the ability to lead kids in the right direction, and we still lead them in the wrong direction. And, you know, fast money, you know, it's easy to get caught up in that. You know, I fell victim to that early, you know. And so if we don't start giving these kids what they need early and showing them that they have a different route, they're going to find it. And you don't have to go to a big city to find it. You can find it here.
My first thought is, I know what can happen to you. I don't want that to happen to you. I know my lane. I pick my lane. I got the ones that you talk to, and when you look in their eyes, it looks like you're just talking, you know, it's like they're grasping everything. They're a sponge. That's the kids that I want to be involved with. So hopefully, man, my plan is to ride my wave out, man, with my nephew. You know what I'm saying? He'll be a 4th grader next year. So we'll do 4th grade. Then when he moves up, I'm gonna ride with his class, because they're the class of 2033. They're gonna be good because of what we're doing with them now. You know, we're letting them know that, hey, you know, you gotta put in work. My whole day, my days revolve around sports, because, you know, Ashley, she coaches high school basketball. You know, I coach the youth league. So, like, there's not a day that don't go by that we're not talking sports. That's just what it is. And I'm glad that I have someone that understands that. Because if I had a significant other that didn't understand sports, they wouldn't understand that sports takes me back to the great times with my son. You know, we have a born date, a dash, and a deceased date. We don't know when the deceased date is. We know when the born date is, but your life, it's all about that dash. What do you do in between that dash? I've done a lot of wrong in between the dash. But, you know, now, especially since my son's been gone, I've been putting forth more effort in my community. Like I said, we have a lot of leaders in our community that are doing great things. My avenue is just the sports side. We got, you know, Terry Dumphord. He's doing his thing with the Voyage Movement, which is powerful, because our kids leave school, walk down to his center, get snacks before they go to football practice. You know what I mean? So we're all working together for real.
One of the things that we really wanted to do was not let money be a hurdle for any of the kids in our organization, right? And the reason why I wanted that to be is because when I was coming up, I remember times where I couldn't do things because we didn't have the money. You know, I remember my friends being able to go and experience things, but I couldn't because we didn't have the money. So I wanted to make sure that I removed that barrier, and that any kid that was in my sphere of influence, they would never, you know, not be able to do something because of money. So when we started branching out and bringing in other community partners into our organization and exposing our kids to what they did, one of the things we emphasized was that if you got a camp, if you got anything that it's going to cost, it got to be free for our kids. So we did a lot of things with some of the churches around it. They had some nice things they were doing in the community, man, and it was costing other kids, but our kids was able to go for free. They had like culinary arts, they was doing acting, they was doing just different activities, right? So that was very important to me. So when we buy this building in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, man, like nobody's really moving around. I was walking through the neighborhood, and every year, you know, I go and I pray and I meditate and I really try to make sure I'm listening to God and to see what our mission is and what's our mission statement for that year, right? Because, you know, what we do and what we thrive on is uplifting and empowering our community in whatever way. So we try to provide wraparound services for the community. So wherever there's a need, we're going to try to meet it, or we're going to introduce you to a community partner who can fill that void, right? So that's what we did. So I kept it centered, and I wanted to be a safe space for the youth first. That's why we call it a multi-purpose space, because the first function of it is for the youth. We do have a food pantry in the back. We got a clothing closet in the back. But our first function is for it to be kid-friendly and for the youth to be able to come in and have a safe space where they don't have to worry about money. The reason why I say that is because every day when they come in, right, all they got to do is sign their name, and they get a free drink, a free snack. We got free Wi-Fi, and the games that you see in here, they free. So everything's completely free. So any kid in this community, they know that if they need a snack or they need a drink or they need anything, whether it's food from the pantry for their family, they know they can come in this space and they don't need nothing but to sign their name or say hi. You know, it's certain things, right? So let me reverse a little bit. So when I was going back and forth with the community about what we was gonna do with the space, God was like, you know, make it a space that will be in heaven. Like, would you expect to pay for something in heaven? Like, if this store was in heaven, in a corner in heaven, how would it function? Like, how would they pay? He was like, you would pay with a smile, right? Hello. I'm like, oh, that's powerful. So your characteristics, the fruits of the spirit is the payment. Like, you can't walk in the store and be angry and be mad and think you're gonna get something from somebody. They're gonna be like, change your countenance, change your demeanor, and you can, everything is yours.
We're at a point now, man, that the healing is, I'm healing better, but you know, it's always gonna be a wound, but I'm healing better, and the reason why I'm healing better is because things around me are getting better. I had a guy, man, on Facebook, didn't know him from Adam. We were in the same Facebook group because we sold cars. So he sold cars in Dayton, Ohio. White man, first name Williams, like mine. So he seen what he seen on Facebook, because we was in the same group, that I lost my son. So every time, bro, I was at my weakest point for the first couple of days, I get a text from this man. And it would be like, man, I was just thinking about you. You know, I lost my son. I didn't lose my son to gun violence. I lost my son to an overdose. If I can help you any way, just reach out to me. So I was like, thank you. You know, I replied back to him. I didn't even reply back to some of the people that were close to me, because it was like something about this guy's text. Every time he texts me, I'd be at my lowest point, he texts me. So I reached out to him. I said, man, how do you know that I am at my lowest point right now? How do you know it? And he said, man, I don't know. He said, what are you doing Friday? He said, man, I'm going to come to see you. So he drove from Dayton, Ohio, here. Come to find out, man, our kids were the same age. Me and him was the same age. He's a white guy. I'm a black guy. He come from a better background than we did. I lived in Virginia from 90 to 94. He lived in Virginia from 90 to 94. Our lives paralleled each other so much, but we were from two different totally walks of life. man, that man helped me so much in my journey, you know what I'm saying, to get to where I'm sane right now, to talk in front of the camera without breaking down, you know. And he really don't know how much it means. I mean, I can tell him that, but me telling this camera this right now, how much it means, because I know he'll watch this, I'm letting him know, man, that he meant a lot to me during this process. He ended up moving to San Antonio, getting a better job during all this process. But just this experience, man, yes, it was a bad experience, but you got to find something good out of the bad. People love my son, man. You know, they love my son, man, and you know, all this, like I said, the support that we get from businesses whenever we do anything. Hey, what can we do to chip in? What can we do to help? Because they know what my mission is. My mission is to try not to have anybody else have to go through what me and Gina went through. I stay busy, man. I work at Dan Cummins as well. I owe Dan Cummins everything, man, because Dan Cummins has worked with me during court proceedings, during everything. You know, they, I mean, shit, man, they've been there for me, man. So, you know, I needed Dan Cummins, because owning your own business and you go through that, man, there was times where I wouldn't even open up the door, bro. I sit in the house. But me having to go to work, it gives me a purpose. Yeah. I know that I can't let people down. People's counting on me to come to work. And like I said, man, I love Dan Cummins for that.
Trying to find some of these cars. Come over and get them detailed.
F-150. Which one? What you got, Leslie?
Huh? You got any back there?
Sorry. Yeah, the Silverado.
Got 2 F-150s.
So we got to drive around this lot with 2,000 cars, and we got to push the panic buttons and find them. Okay, that's it. There you go. That's that Ram. You know, Dan Cummins does a lot for our community here. Like I said, they between all the stores, they probably, I'm just giving a number, probably employ around 300 to 400 people. Come on, show them what tomorrow is on this sweatshirt.
Yeah,
Game day, baby.
Homecoming. Let's go.
Go.
They know what time it is.
Like I said, my t-shirt business is A&W Custom Apparel. 48 Sports Zone is my sports channel that, you know, I do. I like to promote our youth sports here, meaning youth, middle school, high school. A lot of people in town think it's just a Paris thing. It's not a Paris thing for real. It could be a whole community thing, but I think people just have the perception of that I'm so gung-ho Paris that I won't invite Bourbon County, you know what I'm saying, on my show, and that's far from the case. You know, I'm open to support any kid that's in our community, because after it's all said and done, Bourbon County people were sending condolences. Bourbon County people were at the funeral. Bourbon County people sent flowers. Bourbon County people support my business. So once again, you know, when it comes to the Paris Bourbon thing, it's fandom. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, man, we're one whole community.
$12, $13, $15 in McDonald's. Come get you some of this fish. I see Tyquan be on Facebook. He done caught all the fish, but we got some fish right here. Yes, sir. We at the fundraiser right now. There's a slow connection in here. I'm getting a slow connection in the line. Sports Center. You done made it on 4 days. See this right here. Oh, no place you can clap with your wrist, man. There you go. That's what's up.
You know, when I see our kids out there performing in that orange and black, it puts me back to the mind frame of when my boy was playing. So, you know, when I say sports means something different to me, it does. It's not something that you know, that I take for granted, because I know how much sports means to some people, and I know that sports is an avenue to get out of Paris. I always tell them, man, you know, Paris is a place that you want to leave, you can always come back. It will accept you with open arms. But are you going to be prepared when Paris does accept you with open arms and it starts squeezing on you? I left Paris. I made a mistake of coming back not prepared. You know, I wasn't prepared when I came back home, you know. So, you know, my goal and Coach Rice's goal is let's get these kids away from here. And, you know, man, you know, we had a signing where 8 out of 11 of his seniors, man, is going on to go play football. Bro, that's unprecedented. That's never happened before here. It makes me proud that I'm a part of that. But there's a piece of me, though, that hurts me.
Before taking this job, there were a few people, and there's still plenty, you know, that said, you know, he won't make it 3 years. He won't make it 3 years. And, you know, I told them, give me 3 years. You know, give me 3 years to get this train rolling in the direction that we see that it should be. And, you know, year one, had a guy or two go play ball. Year two, you know, had a guy or two go play ball. Now year three, when we could really put our hands in the mixing pot and mix it up how we wanted. Now we've got 11 seniors. 8 of them have received scholarships and money to go and play ball at the next level. That means they're student first, they're athlete second. And, you know, I don't know if that's ever been done. And so, you know, that I'm proud of that. I'm you know, at football's over, high school wise. February 7th we'll have signing day, and that'll be an emotional day for me, just because, you know, I've watched these kids grow up, and now I'm watching them go on to the next phase of life, you know. And football's not for everybody. Some of them have jobs, some of them will go into the workforce, some of them will go to school and not play ball. But to know that, you know, we've got a lot of good guys with their hand on them, you know, guiding them on to a collegiate football team is great. That's all we ask for.
You know, when I look behind me and I see 9 guys, and I know the other 2's gonna do something special too, the other 2 seniors, but I see 9 guys. And you know what most people say? You can't do it at a small school. You can't do it at a small school. You know what? You can do anything you want to do if you put your mind to it.
I just want you all to look around at these kids and, you know, remember that just because they're leaving doesn't mean we stop supporting them. You know, exchange numbers, send them some food. I think that's probably the biggest thing. Make sure they're fed. during college. Make sure they're getting out of bed. Just a friendly reminder that, you know, Paris football, Greyhound football is family. So we got to keep treating them like family. You know, they set the bar really high this year. They're enjoyable. It was an enjoyable group. I can't tell you how many times there were tears, there was laughter, there were headaches. But, you know, days like today, you know, it shows us why we're here. This is what it's about, you know, and I know that college might not be for everybody. I get that. But we all have to transition to the next phase of our life. And that's what signing day is about. You know, whatever their goals are, we're here to help them achieve that. Those guys at that table back there, all of our teachers, administrators, you all see, you know, who's showing up for them, all right? So let's keep doing that. Let's keep pouring into them. Because it's a successful group, and with your support, you know, the sky's the limit for them.
And I just want to say thank you for the two women on my left and my right, because without them, I really am no Cordray. They pushed me to be a better person, better man, and just to treat everybody right. And I just want to say I thank you, and I love everybody else for being here to support me, because again, my community, without my community, I don't know who I am. And I'm glad to say I come from a small school, because look at all the things we accomplished and we've done. And I want to say, also thank my coaches, because they wake me up 5 in the morning some days during camp to push me. And even though I might get on Tyquan's nerves, he gets on mine sometimes too. And you know, without them, I wouldn't know. And also thank you too, Coach Ransom, for, you know, stepping with me whenever I had a big incident and mess up on the road. And I will be furthering my career to Thomas More University.
No, I will say this, before coming on, watching, you know, being able to coach the Little Hounds and being able to work with the middle school, now being able to work with the high school, I do know that for years, there's been eligibility issues. For years, guys not being eligible to play on Fridays due to grades, guys not being able to walk at graduation. You know, those things, you know, we've buttoned up. You know, we don't have those issues. You know, will guys ride that line? Of course, you know, but they know that we push grades first, because we know how hard it is without your grades. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So we want to push that first. You know, and here's the thing, you know, this front room that you all saw coming in, that was a weight room for years. For years, it was a weight room. And, you know, we were fortunate enough to be able to have that facility next door. So, you know, the goal I had year one was, you know, I got to make this space feel like home. You know what I'm saying? You're comfortable at home. I want these guys to be comfortable in here. So we put the study lounge in. We wanted guys to come in here and be able to get their grades and get their work. And, you know, I've just been really blessed to have a principal and an assistant principal that really believe in academics. And so, but my rule, you know, the state's rule says you can fail 2 grades and still come and play. My rule says we're not failing any. You know, we had to stand on something, and it doesn't matter what you do on Friday night if you don't have the grades to go with it. That's why we changed it up, and you're not failing anything. If you've got D's, you know, it better be because you can't comprehend that, you know. So we send them to tutoring. I've got 2 coaches who are special education teachers. I got another coach, and they're all in the building that's a history teacher. They've got study tables. You know, we want to make sure they're getting it all the way around.
They got to see y'all for 4 quarters.
Yes, sir.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Hey, listen, I tell you all the time, it's okay to get out class. It's not okay to get out work. You understand that? Yes, sir. We are not getting out work tonight. Maserati, where you at? 220. 220, Marty. Sit up. Chest out, man. 220, you hear me? You understand what I'm asking you for, right? 220, O-line. 220 tonight. Y'all understand steak dinners? That man gets 220. That's on everything I love. All right, 220 tonight, Marty. Y'all got it? Hey, lastly, man, we ain't got a lot of time, but I want to tell y'all something. Y'all get to suit up and play the greatest game on this planet. Y'all understand? Yes, sir. The greatest game. Yes, sir.
It seems like they locked in. I mean, we're going to beat them. I mean, we beat them. We punished them last year. But, I mean, they should have got back. Could have got better.
They should have got
transferred.
better. I don't know, but I mean, I know we got better.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But I know we're gonna get it done. And then we gotta go out in the mountains for 2 weeks in a row. And then we come back home against Montgomery County in the Blank Collier Bowl, and it's gonna be sold out then. Because they got like already 200 pre-sold tickets. So it's gonna be a nice event.
Yeah. Montgomery's, that's gonna be a field game, man.
That's what, well, I mean, we beat them last year.
Yeah.
I mean, we went down there and beat them. They 5A. We had a football field down there that if you come down there in a white uniform, you know, if your parents didn't have tied with bleach, your uniform's gonna be all tore all to pieces, you know. We still have, guess what? We're about to have a $1.5 million football facility built. I feel proud, man, because I feel like I had a hand in that being done.
Come on, man. All these penalties. Hey, sports, remember it was like this at the beginning of the year last year too, though? Penalties. Listen, some of y'all people, don't adjust your TV. This is an orange field. Good play right there by number 1.
With the coverage of our games every Friday, you know, people, you know, man, we got people that's in Florida, that's in, graduate there in Florida, California. Like sometimes I'll be like, man, give me your location. Man, we got people in St. Louis, we got people over here, but they're tuned in watching the Greyhounds on Friday night. You could be doing anything on a Friday. Different time zones. We got people in different time zones in Cali, but they're watching our lives because it takes them back to the time that they were here in high school. And a lot of us, when we get my age, man, we went through so much heartache and so much pain that we want something that we can relate to. You know what I mean? That puts us back in that zone to where, hey, man, you know, I remember back then when it was this, you know, and it makes it feel good, man. So I feel like, man, that, you know, man, it's been, like I said, it's been 3 years and a couple months, man, you know, since my son passed. And like I said, I feel like that we are making momentum. We're gaining momentum to get to the point to where Paris can be a place, man, that, you know, that families trust us here.
You know, when Jacobe passed away, you know, it was a sad time for our town. And, you know, it was a sad time for me and his mother. And, you know, one of the ways that we wanted to commemorate his life was to have a fun day. And, you know, we felt like, you know, we make t-shirts, everybody wear the t-shirts, and, you know, just come out here and have a good time. We get donations from our community here, bouncy houses and food and stuff. So, you know, I feel like that it's a positive thing, and we come out here and we share memories. No tears, you know, we come out here to share memories.
We're here because everybody loves Jacobe, you know? So everybody that helps put this together, you know, I'm so appreciative. And this is because of the love for him, you know? So it means a lot to his mother, you know? So just being appreciative and thankful, being from such a small but tight community, you know? So it means a lot. it does in their life.
Today, man, symbolizes, individuals who have mustered the strength to turn pain into purpose, right? It's a overwhelming, life-altering situation for not only the parents and the immediate family, but the whole community, right? Actually, almost the whole state. I wore this shirt today up at Frederick Douglass, speaking to about 200-300 young men, right? And I let them see the pictures of the potential. You talking about all-state MVP, a young man who could shape and mold his future. So a lot of times when we look at these situations, yes, man, it is something that you would never wish even on your worst enemy, right? But when it happens and you can turn his life into something that is more meaningful, but also a lesson for others, then it becomes a blessing, right? And the curse. Because we're losing these young men at a rapid rate all across the nation. A lot of them are high-level athletes that have the potential to go and do whatever their heart desires. The beautiful thing about today is, as y'all can see, man, the community comes out, right? Not only in memory of Jacobe, but just to get that love, that comfort, to hug on the family, just to let these youngins know that, there are support systems around. Reach out. You know what I mean? And I think that is the most important lesson in it all. To let these youngins know that you are not by yourself. You don't have to do life by yourself. You have individuals who have been through a lot of the same things you've been through. They know. Young men like me, I feel like I owe. So I'm gonna give you more than just what the average person is gonna give you. I'm gonna give you my life. I'm gonna give you my time. I'm gonna sacrifice just so you know that there is somebody out here that wants you to make it, man.
Since my son's passing, it'll be 4 years in December. We've had more kids from our school to go to college. And, that was one of the things that, we wanted to pinpoint. We wanted to get our kids away from Paris and then come back and visit on Jacobe Day and, be an inspiration for our younger kids and let them know that there is things outside of Paris, Kentucky.
I'll tell you one thing that I will always live by. When I was going through the interview process, man, after everything had happened, and you and as well as other people had really pushed and fought for a couple guys from our community to get interviewed, and they had already interviewed 8 or 9 guys, nobody really from here. And one question that a couple board members had told me after that they had asked everybody was, how much does pay persuade you to be here? How much does, the money you make bring you to Paris? And everybody was like, well, I'd like to make this or I'd like to make that. And I'll never forget when they asked me that, looking back, I told them, make. I said, the real question is, how much am I willing to pay to be in this position? Because when you're coaching in Paris, you're really paying. We're not making no money.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
So when I'm sitting on middle school interviews for head coaches, my question is, how much are you willing to pay to take this job?
Right.
And that doesn't mean a dollar figure, just how much are you willing to give to be able to coach here?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, the pride that I get from coaching, everybody's got their little niche and what they're good at, whatever. Mine is that, when I have a parent that trusts me, they call me, hey, can you talk to my son? He ain't listening, man. He ain't doing what he's supposed to be doing. For that parent to come to me and trust my judgment, or whatever the solution I feel like to fix the problem, man, that's a winner for me, man. Because we, like you said, man, we got kids on a daily basis, man, in school. Like the ones that love to play football, they hate when the teacher says, I'm gonna call the coach.
Yeah.
Because they know that, with me, man, if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing, you're not playing.
Man, we coach You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to inspire them. And my whole thing is, you know, even my kids at home, I look them in the face all the time. I'm like, if I do nothing else, by the time you're out on your own, I hope I've shown you how to work hard.
Yeah.
That's it. I just want to show you how to work hard. So no matter what is thrown these kids' way, they are able to fight adversity. That's my biggest thing, man. There were so many times when I was on that fence and I could have fallen off either way,
right.
You know? And you know, my thing is, man, I want to help them skip some of those mistakes.
Right. You know, we trying to set up to go down to Owensboro. Because I mean, we just being 100, man. You know, our youth league team, they're good, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've seen them. They're good. You know, we play against other schools.
There's no atmosphere like it.
Yeah.
Y'all will love it, man. I'm telling you.
Yes.
I miss those days.
Yeah.
The difference, and I'm envious, man. I'm envious of youth coaches, man, because I miss the days when I show up, I can have the worst day in the world, but I got kids that want to be.
Right.
They want to get coached.
Yes.
They don't care to run.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You could yell at them and really put a fire up under them and say, okay, coach.
I know what's driving me. I know what's driving you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's pretty much the same thing, man. You know, it ain't about no ego. It ain't about none of that, man. This is all about trying to make our kids be successful young men.
That's it.
Yes.
Football is a tool that we use. That's it. Football. We
It's an
love the
avenue.
game of football, but it gives us another avenue to reach some of these kids who, without football, we know where they would be.
Man, we know, man.
You know,
like,
and you know, a couple things, man. When somebody tells you you can't, you always want to prove them wrong. My biggest goal is just to be, you know, a tool for these kids. I want them to be able to use me and the things that I teach them to propel them in life. I want to show the people that said we couldn't, that we can.
ultimately, you know, what is your vision? What do you think the vision is going to be? Let's project this. Well, we already said 2027, right?
Yeah.
2020. Yeah. So 2 more years, you know, all of us guys, that's your group.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that I'm talking about that were out shoveling snow.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the guys that were, you know what I'm saying, that were working. Yeah. You know, those are the guys that you help open up a bank account, you know. So I know they're going to run through the brick wall.
Absolutely, because they know I'm going to run through the brick wall for them.
them. Yes, sir.
What I'm saying? That's just part of it, man. The one thing that you know, we always have to find some balance in is like that tough love, and I'm still learning. And you know, a lot of kids, man, they run from structure, they run from guidance, they run from, you know, what's hard. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I think as a culture, we got to get back to where right is right, even if they don't like it. I see so many parents who are their kids' best friend. I don't want to be my son's best friend. I don't want to be my kid's best friend. I want to be able to help them. What they say, don't give them what you never had, teach them what you was never taught.
Right.
I want to teach my kids what I was never taught,
yeah,
or at least I didn't listen to. And you know, and so that's kind of where we're at with here. We just got to be able to really show them that we care about them, because no kid cares about what you know till what? Till they know how much you care.
Right.
You know? And so that's where we're at.
We're at a point to where we knew, you know, me, you, Coach Real, I mean, we do, you know, we talked about this all the time. We knew we could get to this point. I feel like we've surprised some people. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing.
Yeah, man, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, man. We really have set our feet in concrete, man. And so, you know, we're cemented and to the vision. And so it's gonna start tomorrow night. So
good luck tomorrow, Coach.
Coach.
Go, stay in me! Go, baby!
pictures with all these trophies. Man, good luck, man. Hey, get this chip, all right? Yes, ma'am.